you will hear a lot if you are from a 12-step background like I was, other people's opinion is none of your business. And I wish I could do that black and white kind of, oh, that's done, I never have to worry. But I haven't found that to be the case. I found that it still needs a lot of work, that we need to move through our codependent behaviors so we can have honest relationships that feed us, that we get to show up in 100%.
You're listening to the Recovered Life Show, the show that helps people in recovery live their best recovered lives. And here is your host, Damon Frank.
Welcome back to the Recovered Life Show. I am pleased to be joined today by Kristina Dennis. How you doing, Christina?
Very well. Thank you for having me.
Welcome to 2022.
Unbelievable.
So great. I love having you on the show. So for anyone
you.
who has not heard Kristina Dennis on the show before, she is a codependency and recovery coach, really great at what she does. And I always hit her with heavy, deep questions.
You do.
On every episode.
Right.
And you're so great at explaining what's going on with people in their thinking, especially, if you're listening to this and you're in recovery, the real issue becomes after you get sober, as we know, Christina, is relationships, right?
Yes,
it's really
absolutely.
all about relationships.
Very, very true. It's for those of us who put down alcohol, that's really the only thing that you can do 100% in recovery is not drink or not take that drug. But everything else, the reasons why we drink is still on the table, and nothing triggers us more than a relationship.
Yeah. And that's the topic that I had for you today. It's about other people's opinions.
Right.
And worrying about other people's opinions because, so much of recovery is being able to be a good listener, a good communicator, to be able to take feedback on what people say to you and be able to process it in a healthy way. Right. Mm-hmm. And then determine what changes you need to make in your life.
So true. And you will hear a lot if you are from a 12-step background like I was, other people's opinion is none of your business. And I wish I could do that black and white kind of, oh, that's done, I never have to worry. But I haven't found that to be the case. I found that it still needs a lot of work, that we need to move through our codependent behaviors so we can have honest relationships that feed us, that we get to show up in 100%.
Yeah, it's so important because I think, 12 steps is a lot where a lot of people in recovery start to learn how to ask for feedback, right? And then receive it and process that. So it kind of breaks it down into these two different things I want to talk with you about is unsolicited feedback, like somebody just coming right up to you and telling you what you should do, all the tips of the world, and then solicited feedback. And these two are different, right?
And very much so. And in codependency recovery, we realize that we can't take surveys. When we have something happening in our life, we can't go out and check with every single person that we know, but we can set boundaries for those helpful, friendly people that want to give us feedback on issues that they're not experts in. It doesn't matter. You need to always recognize whoever's speaking to you. What position do they hold in your life? Are they somebody of authority? Are they somebody that has done what we're doing right now? Have they gotten through some of the situations? What is it that we can learn from them? It's always important to try to stay curious when you're getting this feedback. Look, I'm the boundaries girl, right? Setting healthy boundaries is something that I talk about all the time. But sometimes you don't have to actually set a boundary with somebody if they're telling you something ridiculous. I always know that if something is bothering me that somebody said, there's probably a little bit of truth in what they're saying, or I suspect that some of the things they're saying might be true. Because if somebody came up and called me a millionaire, I wouldn't be a penny richer. It's only if I actually kind of think, oh, maybe they're telling the truth. So if you can look at feedback, even hurtful feedback with some curiosity, it'll give you some of the information that you need in order to heal parts of yourself.
I love what you're saying about that there might be a thread of truth in it, right? Because I remember, getting negative feedback the first time in recovery. And it was when I asked someone in a 12-step program advice on what they would do and about changes I should make in my life. and they came back with something very direct, and it was 100% true. It was true, right? But it was such a stunner to me because I didn't really know how to process it. Right. I didn't know what to do. And honestly, look, most people that have addiction issues that come into recovery aren't great listeners anyway. When they first come in, they don't really want to take suggestions and feedback. They just want to try to figure out how they can drink or use drugs or be codependent and not have the ramifications, right?
Yes.
You're not interested in that. And so that's a learned thing. As you learn through recovery, it's like, no, I'm here for the long haul. I want to recover. I want to do this deal. Right.
Right.
How do you, if you start feeling that you're getting this negative feedback and you start feeling defiant, what do you do? What do you recommend to people that they do instead of just going into fight or flight?
Right. Well, I think it's important, one, to remember that this is just their opinion and that you are safe. In codependency recovery, we start surrounding ourselves with people that have our interests at their heart. We start investing our time with people that can reflect back to us. We get filled up and feel secure by having these honest, open relationships with safe people. So first you have to decide, is this person safe or not safe before you enter into a conversation? Hopefully, you know them, or if you don't know them, you can quickly say, not a safe person, not interested in what they have to say, and say, thank you very much. I'll keep that in mind, and not actually have a confrontation. I feel like that's really important for people to understand. They don't have to go out and write other people's opinions. They don't have to defend themselves against somebody who might as well be telling them they have pink hair and it's on fire. So determine how important is this person before you respond and give them any energy. You don't have to.
I love that about giving energy. And this leads me to the other question with unsolicited feedback. And everybody's received this. And we did an episode last month about toxic people.
Yes.
And it was great because we really kind of dove into how toxic people in your life can give you this incredibly negative feedback. And through that discussion, I realized, hey, sometimes that's not even feedback. That's just an attack, right?
Right.
Sometimes it's not feedback at all. It's just an attack.
Right. I was taught something very early on in my recovery, and I think it's incredibly powerful. When somebody attacks, they say something. It's not for your betterment. It's not for them. They just say something to kind of push you down. Two of my favorite words are wow. So that person will stop. And then the other one is ouch. If you say that to somebody who has attacked you, it generally stops them in their track. And you don't have to explain why you have an ouch. You don't have to explain why they need to look at it in a different manner. You have to stand up for yourself and say, ouch, that hurt. See how they handle that. Some people might be shocked and realize, oh, wow, I went too far. This person has a boundary. This person is not going to let me just abuse them verbally. I love that word. And you don't have to explain. So, ouch. And you can even use it in past. The event has happened. You can, if you decide that you want to continue having a relationship with this person and to grow together, you can even call them up and tell them, hey, when you said that, I was really taken back. I didn't know what to say, but ouch, it hurt.
Yeah, I love that.
Who can argue
ouch.
with that? Yeah.
I love the ouch, right? Because I think so many times we might be hurt. Somebody gives us feedback. And a lot of the times the feedback that might hurt us, the people really care and love us, and they really want to see us succeed. And maybe they see something in us that we don't see in ourselves, right?
Right. Well, for sure, for me in early recovery, people saw a lot of things in me that I had no idea that they were there. They would let me know, you're manipulating. That hurt. But it actually was such a gift for me, because what it made me do is go back and look at my behavior patterns, go back and figure out, where was I manipulating so that I could survive? As a codependent and a trauma survivor, I had all kinds of manipulative behaviors to try to get somebody to do what I wanted them to do so that I could keep myself safe. Well, those are terrible foundations to have relationships on, because you're always trying to manipulate somebody else's behavior. And so once I started realizing I'm safe, I'm okay, these are the people I go to for the feedback that helps me, I can say my opinion, I can ask for my needs to be met, and that can be the other person's job to figure out whether they want to meet those needs, or do we need to seek other people for this type of relationship. It's important to have the information.
Yeah, yes, it is. The information is actually golden. And we were in a Clubhouse room together. That was fun. And for anyone who's listening here that has not joined us on Clubhouse, we're on Clubhouse almost every day of the week. So definitely look up Recovered Life there. And we have these really deep conversations with people.
We sure do.
And one of the things that came up was about how to handle this feedback in codependency. And really kind of this, people talking that had codependency that feel that maybe they've crossed the boundaries. They're the ones now giving the feedback, but they're really trying to manipulate people, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not about feedback at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pure, solid manipulation of trying to get people to do what you want them to do.
Right. So that life can be as you believe it should be. But generally, when we're in that position, we really don't know what the heck is going on in life. We haven't gotten the rules. We don't know what it's like to have honest relationships with people that will show up for us. We believe we still have to behave a certain way in order for us to be okay. And then you're never really known, right? If you're putting on a show, if you're acting out in your codependent behaviors, if you're giving, right? And you never have needs, that's not an equal relationship. And it's the most isolating and lonely feeling that I've ever had, because nobody really knew who I was. So I really encourage people to take a minute before you respond. Recognize that you're safe. You're an adult. You're safe. You're learning these new behaviors. Recognize that you can think about it. In fact, that's even a response you can give somebody. Wow, you've given me a lot to think about it. I really want to take some time, and we can pick up this conversation later, before you just respond. They say it in the big book about Alcoholics Anonymous, restraint of pen and tongue. You're not declaring that person is right. You're not saying, that it's okay to treat you like that. You're giving yourself time to think about it, discuss it with a safe person, and then respond, so you can build safer, healthier relationships with people.
I love that advice. It's so great and right on. I know that both of us are Byron Katie fans.
Yes.
And one of the great things I learned from listening to Byron Katie was the phrase, "Is it true?"
Mm-hmm.
And, that's how I have dealt with feedback, through my recovery. And when I was able to get to a position where I was able to kind of stop and not have this emotional, reaction
Mm-hmm.
right at the front, I would write it down. And then I would ask myself, is what this person is saying about me, or the feedback that they're telling me, is this true?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And many times I didn't have the ability to really discern that myself.
Right.
I felt, well, maybe sometimes it's true, but a lot of the times it's not. It was confusing. So I took it a step further, and I would go around to people that I trusted that would tell me the truth, which is so important to have that community. Right. And
Absolutely.
I would say, listen, I won't get upset. I just want to know, somebody said this about me. Do you find it to be true?
Mm-hmm.
And there were some things that were true. And there were other things that was like, that came back. I'd ask 5 people, and all 5 said, you know what? I really don't see you like that.
Mm-hmm.
And these people are very close to me. So it was through that and the community and having people that I trusted that I could wade through what feedback I wanted to integrate into my life.
So good. And you can even take that one step further, because if you do get emotionally charged, if you do have a response that's physical or emotion, taking the time to understand where that might have come from. If it's somebody you barely know and they say something about your integrity and they don't have any clue who you are, obviously their opinion doesn't matter very much, but that doesn't mean that we're not triggered. And so I love taking these opportunities with people, who do come to me for that discernment, and walking through it to see what in your past, what belief system needs to be changed, right? Because if this person told you, it's daylight and it happens to be evening, you would know the problem was with them. So we have to figure it out. We have to see where that trauma has been stored, and we need to rebuild a new belief system on top of it. And we need to replace it so that it doesn't matter as much about what people think of you. And you're not walking around just raw for anybody to bump into you.
So great. And really the takeaway that I'm getting from this episode is that feedback is a positive thing.
Yes.
Even if it's negative feedback and it's not, even if the person is kind of attacking you, at least you now know their communication style, right?
And you have information about them. And I would much rather know that up front. Rejection is God's protection. And I really, really believe that. If they don't care for me, I want to know up front. I don't want to build a false relationship. I want to know up front that it's not going to work for us. And one thing I learned was that not everybody's going to like me. And that's a good thing. At first, it used to be how I wanted to keep alive, I felt like I had to make sure everybody liked me, a fawn response to trauma, so that I would be safe. Now I know, because I am safe with the relationships that I have, that that's really okay. They don't want chocolate cake today. They want asparagus. It's perfectly fine. Go find some relationships where you can have your asparagus. I'm all right being chocolate cake.
Kristina Dennis, thank you so much for coming on the show today and sharing your wisdom with us. Thanks so much.
All right.
Keep the conversation going. Join Recovered Life, a community of like-minded people who are looking to live their best recovered lives. Membership is free, and you can apply at recoveredlife.us.